Alrighty, folks, welcome to our NBA free pick video here today for Friday, April 5th, 2024. Happy Friday to you. If you're on the East Coast, hopefully you weren't moving and shaking around too much. Had a 4.7 magnitude earthquake in New Jersey. Hope everybody's okay. I was watching MLB Central. It's a live program and everything started shaking, and everybody on set, they were kind of confused. They were a little bit they were worried. But anyway, folks, happy Friday to you. The weekend is finally here, and of course, my name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks right here on YouTube since 2016. And if you want to see which one of these games on the slate here today that I actually like the best, you may want to think about signing up for my daily best play on my premium site. It costs just $1.99 for 30 days of service. And that's right, you'll get one premium selection of mine every single day for the next 30 days. The math works out to be just 6 cents a day. I currently have over 1,430 members who are signed up and active on my premium site right now. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into some free content. We're actually going to start off with the Thunder at the Pacers, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Indiana's minus 5.5 at home, totals 234. And I do want to take a look at this total here real quick. We got two teams who definitely don't shy away from scoring points. Indiana's the league leader right now in point production, league leader in shooting from the field as well. Meanwhile, OKC on the other side, well, they're the best three-point shooting team in the Western Conference. They're knocking down just about 40% of their three balls. Now, OKC did see overs in 5 out of their last 6, overs against the likes of Boston, New York, and Phoenix. They're also 17-10 to the over against the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, the Pacers, they are 22-16 to the over in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And when it comes to selecting a winner in this one, this game is being featured as my $1.99 daily best play. But when it comes to selecting a free pick here for you, give me the over 234. Next matchup, Magic Hornets, 7 o'clock East. Orlando's minus 12, totals 205. And even though the Magic play some incredibly tight defense, I do have concerns about them laying this large number away from home. They don't score a lot of points, and they're actually little threat shooting the deep ball. Orlando's actually making fewer three-pointers a game than any other franchise except for one. And as much as the Magic like to get to the foul line, they're not overly accurate shooting it from the stripe. Orlando's actually in the bottom 3 in offensive free throw percentage. And they're taking on a Charlotte club who doesn't send many shooters to the line themselves. They're actually in the top 10 in the NBA in free throw attempts on D. And believe it or not, they also have a winning record against the point spread in their divisional home games. Now, more recently, the Hornets covered against the likes of the Celtics, Clippers, and Cavaliers. Now, when it comes to the injury list, Richards and Bailey are questionable for the Hornets. Mark Williams still inactive. Meanwhile, for the Magic, Caleb Houston's day-to-day with an ankle injury. And out of Orlando's last 10 ball games, the under cashed in 80% of those contests. They're also 8-2 to the under in their last 10 outings with the Hornets. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. Now, the Hornets saw 5 out of their last 7 divisional home games stay under the total themselves. Give me Charlotte plus 12, under 205. Next game, Blazers, Wizards, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Washington's minus 3, totals 222. Now, Washington's in no position to lay any type of points at any time. They're 7-32 in their own arena this year, and they allow a league worst 122 points a game as the home team. Now, when it comes to rebounding the basketball, this is the worst defensive rebounding team in the NBA right now. Meanwhile, on the offensive end, the Wizards average fewer offensive boards per game than any other roster except for one. And they're taking on a Portland squad who's no stranger to covering the point spread. The Blazers covered in 5 out of their last 9. Successful covers against the likes of Charlotte, Orlando, and Denver. And out of 13 road games against the Eastern Conference this year, The Blazers covered the number in just about 70% of those games. And if you're wondering what the Blazers do well, I'm not going to lie, it's not much. But when they're on the road, Portland does play some tough defense in certain spots. We're not going to go overboard, but there's a few areas that they do well in. They've actually been difficult to shoot the three ball against. Portland's in the top 3 in the NBA in defensive three-point percentage. And when it comes to the injury list, Simons and Thibault are out. Grant, Baji, and Minaya are questionable. Meanwhile, for the Wizards, Holmes, Adija, and Davis are day-to-day. Shamet, Kuzma, and Jones are scratched. When it comes to the total, Washington saw unders recently against the likes of the Pistons, Bulls, and Raptors. Portland's also 62% to the under in their out-of-conference road games themselves. Give me Portland +3, under 222. Next game, Kings, Celtics, 7:30 Eastern start time. Boston's -10, totals 225.5. I'll tell you what, the 60-win Celtics, they really have no reason to go balls to the wall in this one. They've had that number 1 seed locked up for a hot minute already, and they did fail to cover recently in 3 out of their last 5. Failures to cover against the likes of Charlotte and Atlanta. And even though there's really nothing to nitpick, about when it comes to Boston, the only disparaging thing I could find is the fact that they don't force too many turnovers on defense. They're in the bottom 3 in the NBA in steals per game. And they're going up against a Sacramento team who, to be honest, I'm kind of shocked at how high this number is. Sacramento's a top 5 three-point making team. And they're one of the highest first-half scoring teams in the NBA. They really like to get on you hot and heavy early in games. De'Aaron Fox averages a team-best 26 points a night. Harrison Barnes, he's drilling 40% of his three-pointers. And out of 13 out-of-conference road games this year, the Kings have covered in 62% of those contests. Now, injury-wise, Malik Monk is questionable with a knee. Keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, for Boston, Brown and White are questionable for them. Jaden Springer, he's also been scratched. Now, total-wise, the Celtics went 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Sacramento saw overs recently against the likes of New York, Utah, and Memphis. Give me Sacramento +10, over 225.5. All right, next matchup, Pistons, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Memphis is -1, totals 211. And I do like the Grizzlies in this spot here. Winners of their last 2 straight. They're actually in the top 10 in the league in defensive scoring at home. They play some pretty tough defense in front of their own fans. And I'll tell you, the Grizzlies really tend to shut things down late in games. Memphis is currently allowing fewer fourth-quarter points than any other roster besides one. And unfortunately for the Pistons on the other side, they continue to struggle getting on the scoreboard. They're currently making fewer three-pointers a game than any other roster in the league. And out of 28 contests against the Western Conference, the Pistons lost every one of those games except for 3. Once again, just 3-25 in their out-of-conference games. Now, injury-wise, Grimes and Fontecchio are out. Gibson's doubtful. Meanwhile, for Memphis on the other side, Jackson, Watanabe, Clark, Concher, Bain, Aldama, and Vince Williams, they've been scratched for them. When it comes to the total, Memphis is 67% to the under in the FedEx Forum. They've also gone 10-3 to the under in their out-of-conference home games. Now, Detroit went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. Give me the Grizzlies -1, under 211. Next contest, Heat, Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Miami's the 3-point favorite away from home, totals 215. And as short as this number is, you got to consider the fact that the Heat did fail to cover in 6 out of their last 10. Failures to cover against the likes of the Sixers, Wizards, and Warriors. They're also having a tough time against Western Conference opponents. They've got a .464 win percentage in their out-of-conference ball games. And a big problem for Miami this season has been offensive production. They're a bottom 3-point producing team in their travels. And unfortunately for them, the Rockets have been tough to score against in the Toyota Center. Houston's allowing just 109 points a night in front of their own crowd. They've also been aggressive guarding the three-pointer. Houston's got the second lowest defensive three-point percentage at home in the NBA. Freddie VanVleet leads the active roster in steals. Jabari Smith Jr. has the second most blocks on the active roster as well. Now, injury-wise, Sengun and Eason are both still out. Amen Thompson's day-to-day. Meanwhile, for the Heat, Tyler Hero's still inactive with that knee injury. Miami saw unders against the likes of Golden State, New Orleans, and Detroit. And out of 14 out-of-conference road games, the Heat saw the under cash in all of those contests except for 2. Now, Houston, on the other side, they saw unders recently against the likes of Utah and Portland. Give me Houston +3, under 215. Next game, Knicks, Bulls, 8 o'clock East. Chicago's -2.5, totals 212 and a hook. And for a team laying a bucket in this spot here, I don't see Chicago scoring a whole lot of points. They're already in the bottom 5 in the East in home points per game. They've also lost 7 out of their last 10 meetings with New York, and they were held to just 106 points per contest during that time frame. So once again, if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Now, more recently, the Bulls have had all kinds of issues covering the point spread. They failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10 outings, and they're facing a Knicks team here today who's quite the opposite. New York covered in 7 out of their last 10, and they've done a nice job against the point spread in those in-conference games this year. New York's covering in over 68% of their in-conference road trips. And of course, a lot of that success is thanks to some solid defensive play. New York allows fewer points a game than any other club in the Eastern Conference. And it should come as no surprise, they're the second best defensive rebounding team in the entire NBA. Now, injury-wise, Julius Randle's out for the season. Not going to see him back in action. OG Anunoby still inactive as well. When it comes to the total, the Knicks went 7-3 to the under in their last 10 meetings with Chicago. Now, the Bulls are 71% to the under in their in-conference games at the United Center. Give me the Knicks +2.5, under 212 and a hook. Next game, Spurs, Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. New Orleans is -11.5, totals 218. And even though this number stinks, I think the Pels should have little issue covering here. They got the W in 9 out of their last 10 meetings with San Antonio. And they covered the point spread in 80% of those games. Now, when it comes to offensive production, the Pels are also averaging over 121 points a night in those very contests I just mentioned. As far as this season's concerned, C.J. McCollum's been their deep ball threat. The Lehigh alum is drilling over 41% of his long balls. And Herbert Jones, he's knocking down 42% of his attempts from beyond the arc. And aside from some many offensive qualities, the Pels also do a nice job defensively, especially late. They're in the top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed at home. And unfortunately for San Antonio, they've struggled scoring points against New Orleans recently. They average just 104 points a game in their last 10 head-to-head meetings. The Spurs are also zero threat shooting it from three-land. They have the second worst three-point percentage on the road in the entire NBA. But it ain't just offense that stinks for them. The Spurs are giving up 120 points a game on the road this year. They're a bottom 5 rebounding team on D. Now, injury-wise, Osman and Barlow are out. Johnson's questionable. Meanwhile, for the Pels, Ingram and Alvarado are still out. Zion's day-to-day. When it comes to the total, New Orleans saw overs recently against the likes of Orlando, Phoenix, and Oklahoma City. Meanwhile, San Antonio saw 4 out of their last 6 get over the total themselves. Give me the Pelicans -11.5, over 218. Next ball game, Raptors, Bucks, 8 o'clock East. Milwaukee's -15.5, totals 227. And I'll tell you what, the Bucks just have not been good enough against the point spread to cover this number here. I don't care how bad the Raptors are. It's Milwaukee who failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7. And they do have a losing record against the point spread in the Fiserv. Now, in their last 10 meetings with Toronto, the Bucks successfully covered in just 30% of those games. So really struggling to cover the number in head-to-head meetings. And I'll tell you what, their big issue this season has been their defensive effort. They're currently a bottom 10 point allowing team at home. And as good of rebounders as they have, well, there's no excuse for being in the bottom 10 in home defensive boards. But I'll tell you what, we haven't even addressed the Bucks' biggest issue, their biggest problem. I guess maybe they're getting gassed, or maybe they're just in such a big lead that it doesn't matter. But I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. But I'll tell you this much. The Bucks are allowing more fourth quarter points than any other roster in basketball. And that's certainly bad news for, Bucks bettors, because that's about the only time Toronto actually scores points. The Raptors are in the top 3 in the East in fourth quarter scoring on the road. They're also in the top 3 in the entire league in third quarter scoring away from home as well. These guys doing a nice job getting on the scoreboard late in games, more specifically the second half. Now, when it comes to covering the point spread, the Raptors still somehow have a winning record against the number in their travels. When it comes to the injury list, Pirtle, Boucher, Porter, Barnes, and Carton are still out. Agbaji, Trent, and Brown are day-to-day. Meanwhile, for the Bucks on the other side, Giannis, Dame, and Pat Bev, they're all questionable for them. Jalen Galloway's also been scratched. When it comes to the total, Milwaukee's gone 6-3 to the over in their last 9. Meanwhile, Toronto's seen 65% of their road games get over the total themselves. The Raptors plus 15.5, over 227. Next contest, Warriors, Mavericks, 8:30 p.m. East. Dallas is the 5-point favorite at home. Total's 226. And speaking of that total, well, we do have scores on both ends of the court here this evening. Steph Curry is averaging over 26 points a game, and he's drilling 40% of his 3 balls. Meanwhile, Luka Doncic on the other side, he leads the NBA in scoring. And in these teams' last 10 head-to-head meetings, the over did cash in 70% of those games. Now, the Mavs also saw overs more recently against the likes of Houston and Oklahoma City. Meanwhile, Golden State on the other side, they saw 5 out of their last 9 get over the line, throwing out that Charlotte game. When it comes to selecting a winner in this one, this game is being featured as my NBA tier package pick on my premium site. But as far as making a free play is concerned, give me the over 226. Next ball game, T-Wolves, Suns, 10 o'clock East. Phoenix is -4 at home, totals 217. And contrary to the game we just looked at, well, we've got some stingy defenses and stingy defensive players on both ends of the court here in this particular matchup. Minnesota allows fewer points a game than any other roster in the NBA. Meanwhile, Phoenix is a top 3 defensive rebounding team. When it comes to the total, Phoenix saw unders in 3 out of their last 5. Unders against the likes of Cleveland, Denver, and San Antonio. Meanwhile, for Minnesota, the under cashed in 6 out of their last 10 themselves. When it comes to selecting a winner, this game is being featured as my extra daily pick on my premium site. But as far as making a free play is concerned, give me the under 217. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. Going to be in that Jazz-Clippers game. And that'll be a 10:30 Eastern start time. The LA Clippers are -12.5. Totals 223 and a hook. And even though this number is kind of brutal, I can't imagine let's try that again. Just rewind. LA Clippers -12.5. Totals 223 and a hook. And even though this number is brutal, I can't imagine Utah's going to participate much here today. They've lost their last 10 straight, and they failed to cover in all of those contests except for 2. And out of 37 ball games away from Salt Lake City, the Jazz have yet to record double-digit victories. They're just 9-28 in their road trips. And aside from allowing 124 points a game on the road, the Jazz are also letting their opponents make 40% of their 3 balls against them in that same category. And unfortunately for them, they're facing one of the best shooting teams in the NBA. LA's in the top 5 in offensive 3-point percentage, top 5 in shooting from the foul line as well. When it comes to point production, Paul George is averaging over 22.5 points a night. He's making 41% of his three balls. Norm Powell's also knocking down over 43% of his attempts from beyond the arc. When it comes to defensive play, well, you're not going to out-rebound these guys much. They're second in the league in home defensive boards. When it comes to the injury list, Leonard and Primo are questionable for the Clips. Clarkson, Dunn, Markkanen, Collins, and Kessler, they're inactive for Utah. The Jazz have gone 4-2 to the over in their last 6. Meanwhile, the Clippers saw overs in 6 out of their last 9 themselves. Overs against the likes of Charlotte, Philadelphia, and the Pacers. Give me the Clippers minus 12.5, over 223 and a hook. And with that, folks, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap. I like the over 234 in the Thunder-Pacers game. Charlotte plus 12, under 205. Portland plus 3, under 222. Kings plus 10, over 225.5. Grizzlies minus 1, under 211. Rockets plus 3, under 215. New York Knicks plus 2.5, under 212 and a hook. Pelicans minus 11.5, over 218. Raptors plus 15.5, over 227. I like the over 226 in the Warriors-Mavericks game. I like the under 217 in the T-Wolves-Suns game. Give me the Clippers minus 12.5, over 223 and a hook. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium site. Now, if you do end up getting a membership here today on patreon.com/BrockPage, just a friendly reminder, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. That's why I always tell folks that Chairman Package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you also get access to my Chairman podcast absolutely free. It's included with your purchase. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, folks, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium site at patreon.com/BrockPage.